thought the March wrap-up was sad. Y'all are gonna be real disappointed in this one. Hello everybody, and welcome once again to a monthly wrap-up video. Today we are talking about April 2024 and the books that I read in the wonderful month of April. I have enough pride that I can still say books as in I read more than one. I think I would actually have like a full-on breakdown if I only read one book, but it's okay because I didn't. I read more than one. Barely. But as always, before we get into the nitty-gritty details of all the books that I read and talking about them, we're gonna go over statistics because I am a statistics girl. Don't worry, this will be really quick. It'll be really quick and so much fun, and I am not enjoying this. I'm kidding, I actually do really enjoy filming these videos. It's just this one is very sad and very short, and April was not my month. Okay, my birthday may have been in April, but that doesn't mean I had a good time in April. Anyways, this month, I read 4 books. All 4 of them were from the library. Good job me. Didn't read any from my personal stash when I only read 4. Thank you, Paige, for doing yourself a little bit of a service. 2 of the books that I read ended up being DNFs. And then with the other 2, I ended up getting 1 4-star and 1 3-star out of my April reading. Listen, I said it was really disappointing, okay? I wasn't kidding. Like, this is probably my worst reading month I've ever had, ever. If you're wondering, that is an average rating of 1.75 stars per book. As for pages, the shortest book that I read was one that I DNF'd, and it was called Jelly, and I read 176 pages in that book. And then the longest book that I read was called Eliza and Her Monsters, and that book had 385 pages. Out of the 4 books that I read a total of 1,177 pages. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 800, but I did pretty good in the page department. Speaking of the page department, that is an average of 294.25 pages per book. And then the final little statistics bit that we talk about all the time is my goals for the month. I went in with 2 this month. I don't remember if I told you all them, but I have my carrying over one that I don't want to falsely return any library books, which I did a good job on this month, okay? None of them were falsely returned. I did a very good job because I ended up buying one of them, but that's okay. I wanted to. It was a good decision. And then my other goal was I was going to read 15 books. That didn't happen. It was a really disappointing month, okay? A really disappointing month. I get to close my computer for once while filming these videos, so I don't get to feel bad about draining my computer battery because I can remember everything about these 4 freaking books. Y'all want to talk about them? Let's go talk about them. So the first book that I picked up this month was one that I told myself I had to finish in the month of April or just return it to the library and get it over with, and that was The Undetectables by Courtney Smith. I tried reading this book in my mystery and thrillers video from last month. I think that was last month, wasn't it? Or early April, I don't know. Somewhere in there was a mystery and thrillers video, and I tried reading it in there, and I was just like, I was so excited, and then I couldn't get into it, and I just couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it. The premise honestly sounded so exciting, and like the characters sounded cool, and I was excited because we had like a little ghost, and I wanted to know the murder part of it. But the main character suffers from some sort of disease, and so like every 2 pages is her saying how tired she is and how she doesn't want to do anything, how she can't do anything. And like I get it, I get that it's hard to have a disease, but when I'm reading the book, can we please keep on the plot? Please, the plot isn't your illness, okay? The plot is a fantasy mystery book. And we didn't get that, so I just didn't want to continue reading it. So after my really, really disappointing time with The Undetectables, I moved on to Jelly by Clara Reese, hoping that this would be a cute 250-page read that, in and out in one day. This was my other DNF of the month. The premise of this book was honestly really interesting, okay? It's this group of people who are stuck on a jellyfish and they're trying to get their way off. I genuinely thought that the jellyfish was like a metaphor for like grief or something in the beginning. Don't ask me why, just did. That's why I picked it up. It has nothing to do with that. They're literally just stuck on the back of a jellyfish and like they will hop off and the jellyfish will bring them back. Or kill them. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know either. I'm not kidding you when I say I think I read like 60 or 70% of the way through this book, and I literally got to the point where they had found a way to get off the jellyfish, and I'm like, I don't care. I actually don't care, because the characters all complained. They didn't enjoy their life on the jellyfish. They kept stabbing the jellyfish. Like, I don't know, okay? But it wasn't for me. So, I DNF'd it. Now, if you watched my video where I attempted to read my April TBR, and I think it was like 12 days or something when it came down to pulling all those days that I didn't touch any books at all. I said when I picked up this next book, I'm like, I know I'm gonna DNF it in like 2 or 3 chapters, okay? But I want to get through these books, and I told myself I at least have to try. That's what I thought about Eliza and her monsters. What? This book was my favorite book of the month, and it's a thick one, okay? I was not expecting to like it this month because usually thick books are really hard for me to get through for whatever reason, but I fully, thoroughly, 100% enjoyed this book. I do wonder though if coming off those 2 really bad books made this book seem a little bit better than it was, but I honestly don't care. I loved it in the moment, I still love it now. It's staying at its 4 stars. In this book, we follow Eliza, who is the creator of a really popular online webcomic, and she ends up going to her school and finding a new kid at school who creates fan art for this webcomic, and they bond over it. But he doesn't know that she creates the comic. Okay, that's kind of like the vibe we're going for. While I was reading it, it reminded me a lot of Radio Silence by Alice Oserman. If you guys don't know, I loved that book when I read it last August. I think it was so endearing and just love the characters and everything like that. The only thing I will say is that this one was not so very much like family issues focused. Like the cover says her story is a phenomenon, her life is a disaster, but her life really isn't that disastrous. She just kind of doesn't have a social life outside of her comic and like the 3 people she talks to online. But that's my life, and I don't think my life is disastrous. You know, I do what I do, I love what I do, and I'm good with that. I don't feel like I needed like another source of fulfillment, you know? But that's about me, not this book. This book reminded me a lot of that. So I don't know if because it reminded me of that I give it a higher rating or what. Like obviously the plot's been seen before. Right off the bat I could pick something else that's like similar to it, right? But I did thoroughly enjoy this book, and would highly recommend it. It is a YA, so it's a little bit easier to get through, and I really didn't think there were any points in this book where I was like bored that I'm thinking of. No, because literally I remember reading this and I needed to like film clips in between about my thoughts, and I just couldn't stop reading it. Like I literally couldn't stop because I just wanted to know, and the characters are endearing. I really enjoyed it. I really did. We're on to our last book already. The final book that I picked up this month was Find You in the Dark by Nathan Ripley. This one I listened to as an audiobook as I was working for stuff for an upcoming market that I have this weekend. Not related to this at all, but I was just like, let me get another book out of the way. And this is the one that I chose to get out of the way, thinking I was going to get through all of them. I didn't. But, spoilers, no. But, in all reality, I really still don't know how I feel about this book. I finished it like 2 days ago now, and I genuinely still don't really know how I feel about it, because I just don't know, you know? In this story, we follow a man whose name I can't remember. I don't even remember. Martin. We follow Martin, and he is low-key kind of creepy, but also kind of really nice guy who will go around and dig up bones of people who have been dead for like years from old serial killers to return the dead bodies back to their families so they can have a proper burial. He does tease the cops about it, but I can let that go, you know? He's like helping families or whatever. But then there's this guy who is a serial killer who comes after him because he's digging up these old bodies. And while that sounds interesting, adding to that, you get the perspective of serial killer guy who's after Martin, the perspective of Martin, and you get the perspective of this cop named Sandra, who is trying to solve the case of these people who have gone missing in this same time, and why the hell these old bones are getting dug up and the cops are getting made fun of it. Or made fun of because of it from the dude. Does that make sense? Probably not, because I also don't really understand. This book had a concept I've never heard of before, okay? I'll give them that. It was interesting in that sense. Kept me kind of intrigued. But it's like, I don't really have any, like, consensual one big thought on it. It was just like a thriller. But it wasn't even that thrilling, you know? Like I wasn't like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? It felt more like an eerie mystery book than anything to me. The plot was interesting. I've never seen the plot before, but like other than that, I don't know what else to say, you know? It was kind of there, and I read it, and I don't regret it. I don't know if I would recommend it. I did give it 3 stars, so it's like right in the middle of the road. You know, as far as the thrillers go that I've been reading, and it is one of the better ones, but that's because I didn't rate it on a thriller scale. I rated it on a mystery eerie scale because it didn't feel like a thriller. I don't know. I have a lot of conflicting thoughts with this book, but that was my month. That was my reading month. I want a redemption arc in May. Please, future me, make yourself a redemption arc. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. I can hold them all in one hand. If you are someone who reads for fun and that's how many books you read a month, or you read less than that, I'm not dissing on you. I'm not making fun of you. However many books you read is an accomplishment. But for me, this was really sad, and I just genuinely want to read more. I just A, don't have the time, and B, keep picking up books that I'm not liking. So they're just like dimming my I want to read light, if that makes sense. But that's okay, because for May, I've already started a couple of books that I'm liking more than I was these guys. I have picked up authors from books that I've liked before. I'm trying to get back into my little reading groove because I want to read good books and I want to have a really big wrap up in May. That's my final thoughts. But that was my month. And I'm really excited for May because it literally cannot get worse than this. But, anyways, let me know how your month of April went. Any goals you have for May, any books you want to read in May, we can put them all together in this video because I know normally I split it in two. But, thank you guys so much for watching my my April wrap up video. I hope you enjoyed your April reading month, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye!